Hey folks, welcome back. I'm your host, R.R. Slugger, and today I wanted to take a look at the state of LEGO Space in 2025. Last year, the theme saw a revival of sorts, something which probably wasn't on anyone's bingo card. I made a video containing my thoughts on the matter several months back. This will be a bit of a follow-up to that one, but in case you haven't seen it yet, here's a quick recap. In 2024, the LEGO Group made a concerted effort to push the LEGO Space brand back into the forefront, with a new series of interwoven sets in the City line. Beyond that, though, the LEGO Space branding was applied to any unlicensed set involving outer space, even if that set already belonged to another series. This led some folks to consider this a super theme of sorts, almost akin to how LEGO used to print System on their boxes. This co-branding also had an impact on some of the sets though, with 2019's modular airlock system being reused to allow certain sets to connect together, even though they were divided by series. Combining Friends and City sets together might feel like Montagues living with Capulets to some, but I think it was an interesting experiment to say the least. It seemed to come out of nowhere, and has all but vanished in 2025, so it's tough to say how successful it was. From my perspective though, the exalted return of LEGO Space last year was both overblown and off the mark. This wasn't a return to the dynamic and thematic risk-taking designs that the company created in the 20th century. This was a return to the same LEGO Space sensibilities we'd been receiving off and on for the past 20 years. Nothing new here. Or at least that was my opinion at the time. I felt that we were still a long ways off from our destination on planet Unitron, but now that several months have passed and I've acquired more sets from the series, have my thoughts changed? Well, no. But also, yes. Kinda. Let's start with the bad. The color scheme did not grow on me. White spaceships with safe, run-of-the-mill palette choices and NASA-inspired design language reeks of mediocrity to me. No one is boldly going anywhere in a ship as uninspired as this one. I don't normally use AI art generators, but I wanted to prove a point about how utterly unambitious the visual design they went with was. Quite literally, the very first result I received from the text prompt of LEGO Spaceship was a white spaceship with orange and blue highlights. You can't make this up. You can be a fan of the aesthetics of this series. In fact, I personally quite like some of these models myself, but I also cannot overstate how blatantly derivative these designs are. If that doesn't bother you, power to ya. Personally, I expect something more adventurous from a series that bears the name LEGO Space. This aesthetic derision of mine extends to the minifigure design as well. I already slandered these figures in my LEGO Space minifigure tier ranking video from last summer, but again, they haven't grown on me since then. Too many conflicting colors paired with busy and incongruous printing results in a general art direction that looks, ironically, directionless. In a way, these figures feel like they were designed by committee, not an artist with a vision. So, is there anything good I can say about these sets? Well, yes, but I said as much back in my original video on the topic too. These are solid toys that, while tepidly meandering where many have trod before, do a good job delivering on the quality that LEGO is known for. Except for this crane on the back of the command rover. Is this a joke? I haven't seen something this flimsy on a LEGO set in a long time. Okay, positive. Think positive, Slugger. Everyone's gonna think you hate these sets if you keep complaining about them. Alright, so this LEGO Space super theme thingy was seemingly given one last hurrah this year with a single new set, 60446 Galactic Spaceship. Galactic Spaceship. That's really the best we got, eh? No more Stellar Recon Voyager, Galactic Mediator, Deep Freeze Defender. Alright then. Well, to tell you the truth, I had no intention on buying this set. Initially, I went into the LEGO store with $100, ready to pick up the Blacktron Renegade. But when I saw it there in person, I realized I don't need this. It looks fine and all, but I already know I'm not going to be happy with the clip connection system it relies on, and there are a number of other aesthetic and structural changes I know I would want to make. So instead, I bought a different spaceship that I made a ton of aesthetic and structural changes to. By the way, this isn't a review of the set, so please don't expect to see a before and after shot of the changes I made. I was going off book while building almost immediately, so there simply aren't any before images to speak of. Sorry. Anyways, you can probably predict some of the alterations I made. I got rid of that slug and clip system and replaced it with proper Technic pins for a snappier connection. I also removed all the classic space logos littering the hull and cleaned up some of the other exterior details. In keeping with the promise of this series, the ship is modular and can be disassembled into its component pieces. The largest of the modules doubles as a research outpost with airlock doors. In the stock set, there's nowhere to store these doors when you attach the outpost back into the main ship, so I created these adapters to allow them to double as sensor pods. I'm pretty happy with the way they turned out. In an unsuspecting turn, we receive updated minifigure designs. These redesigns lean heavily into the Futuron aesthetic, but I've got to say that it actually almost works here. Much of the visual clutter has been removed in favor of a sharper, more focused design. Don't get me wrong though, they're still far from perfect, but now there's something here actually worth fixing. The old designs were seemingly trying to evoke the divisional differences of each character, a la Futuron, or more to the point, Star Trek. Where those uniforms went right, though, was with their color choices. You can grab nearly any member of Starfleet off the street and count the number of colors present on their uniform with one hand, usually with just a couple of fingers. These LEGO space designs, however, feature white, orange, gold, dark blue, sand blue, and black before adding their divisional color on top of it. These astronauts might as well be covered head to toe in advertisements and playing for the Spengler Cup, because that's what they look like to me. So, to see this eyesore of a minifigure design walked back in the new galactic spaceship is a welcome sight. Though, in a slight that almost feels personal, they kept the dark blue hands with these new uniforms, even though there's no longer dark blue anywhere else on the figure. Why? Why do you hate me specifically, LEGO? After making the only sensible decision and swapping them out for black, we're almost done here. With a few more modifications, there. Man, I can't overemphasize how much better these old school helmets look. Not to mention making them black, further tightening the color palette and drawing the eye to the division color on the torso. Dare I say it, but these figures actually look good now. At least worthy of a B on my tier list. Had the 2024 city space theme started with designs more like these, I would have been so much happier with the series overall. These designs look fresh and harken back to LEGO's Trek-inspired roots in an effective way. Plus, air tanks. I know I'm gonna regret saying this due to how many messages I'm sure to receive later, but if you do see these new torso designs pop up on Pick-a-Brick later, please let me know about them. I'd like to fill out my space faction a bit more, and at present, the only way to get these minifigures is in the galactic spaceship, and I'd rather not do it that way if I can help it. These videos don't earn that much ad revenue. Anyways, here's the main question at hand. Do these sets do a better job than I initially thought of capturing the ideals of classic LEGO space? If I'm being entirely honest, yes. I may not like the bland visual direction or the unimaginative cookie-cutter set designs, but this series does move the needle slightly closer to Unitron than I first gave it credit for. Upon reflection, I think incorporating friendly little green aliens is a very Star Trek thing to do, and we even get our own little Ensign Nog here with one of them donning a uniform and sitting in the co-pilot seat of the galactic spaceship. This was something I omitted discussing in my original video on this theme, largely because I was so hung up on all the previous issues I highlighted. Another thing I glossed over was the purple energy crystals that appear to be powering all of these spacefaring vehicles. Very Rock Raiders-esque, and as we all know, Rock Raiders is a space theme. So, bearing all that in mind, let's reassess where we are on the road to Unitron. Yep. Thanks for watching, everyone. I've been your host, RR Slugger, and I'll see you next time for another video.